Hello everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my presentation today. I am going to talk to you about something called zones of regulation, and this is a system that we are introducing across the school, and I just wanted to share what it means for your child and things they might be talking about at home. So the first thing to think about is, what is self-regulation? So that is the ability for your child or for you to understand and manage your behaviour and your reactions to feelings and things happening around you. It includes being able to regulate your reactions to those strong emotions, the ability to calm down after something's been exciting or upsetting, that ability to focus on a task, focus on new tasks when those come up, control your impulses, and behave in ways that help you get along with other people. So you can understand why this is something we want to develop for our children and improve. We're introducing this as a new thing because we're aware that some of our children find it difficult to self-regulate. Some of our children have missed a lot of time at school where they might have learnt these things more naturally, and some of them just find them more difficult in general. And we know that that's the ability to self-regulate helps children to learn at school, behave, make friends, and be more independent. And I'm sure you'll agree those are key things that we want for our children. Something to remember if you do have a go at this at home, or if you fancy it, that there are times where it's not going to be perfect. There are times when it's going to be difficult, and I'm sure you can all relate when we or your child is tired, or they're poorly, or there's been a change. Their ability to calm down and be happy is much trickier. And that's not the time or the place to be developing these strategies and to be talking about them. You also know that some children have a great ability to stay calm, be happy and self-regulate at school, in childcare or a sports club, but they find it much, much harder when they're at home. If that's the case, this might be a strategy you fancy exploring. And finally, we know that some children in those busy, those noisy places, or as they get older, self-regulation is even more challenging. So those open conversations about emotions and feelings are absolutely key. We know we need to be talking about those things more, and we need to be finding ways to keep ourselves happy, to keep ourselves calm and in the right zone. So, as I said, we are introducing, or have introduced, the zones of regulation. And this is a culture where everyone experiences the zones, which you'll find out a bit more in a moment. And you can talk about those. You can think about what your goal is, how you can manage yourself differently, and strategies to support you. It's a well-known book, well-known curriculum, but we are selecting the bits that are best for our school and the bits that are best for our children to hopefully make it most successful. So there are 4 zones. There is the blue zone, which is sad, sick, tired, or bored. This is that low state of alertness. The brain, the body is moving slowly or sluggishly. We then have the green zone, the zone we all want to be in, where you're in control, where you're calm, you're happy, and for children, they are ready to learn. We then have the yellow zone. More intense emotions start to creep in here. We might be feeling worried, frustrated, silly, excited, scared, or overwhelmed. What's important with the yellow zone is those emotions are all fine, but the children are under some control of those and can hopefully bring them back themselves back to green. We then have that red zone, that elated, angry, wild and terrified emotions that the children experience, a very heightened state of alertness, and you may find that your children appear to be out of control. That's where it's going to be a little bit trickier to move them back to the green zone, but with strategies and support from everybody, they will be able to. If you do fancy giving this a go, there are some important points to remember. There are no bad zones. Everyone experiences all of the zones at different times and in different circumstances. One thing could put me in the yellow zone, but not you. A certain time of the day might put me in the red zone, but not you. That's absolutely fine, and everyone's experiences are different. You can't change feelings. You can't change the way that children feel. It's all about managing those feelings and the behaviour linked to those. So it's okay for a child to feel angry, but it's not okay for them to hit. It's not okay for them to throw something around the room. They have to learn different ways of coping with that emotion of anger. You can be in one zone at a time, more than one zone at a time. So you might feel sad and angry at the same time. And that's okay. It's about deciding what you're going to do with those feelings and how you're going to manage them and how you're going to cope with them. If you have a child who's confident at using those emotions, that is brilliant. You don't need to be talking about the 3 colours, but you can still be starting to use those strategies that we'll come on to in a minute. One key thing to remember is if your child is in the red zone, has already got there and you've not been able to stop it, this is not the time to teach them how to get out of the red zone. This is the time where you limit your verbals, limit what you're saying, and you direct them. You give them those strategies. Go and sit and play with your sensory toys. Go and read time to read a book. You need to calm down. Talk to the children, give them those tools and those strategies. And then later on, when they're back in the green zone, reflect on those moments. You know, when you felt angry earlier and you threw the remote across the room, that wasn't okay. What would we do different next time? I wonder if we could have sat and read a book instead. I wonder if we could have had a big hug. Those conversations are absolutely key. So there are different strategies to use in different situations. My apologies. When you're in the blue zone, when you're in that tired, sluggish state, you need to wake your bodies up. You need to feel better. You need to regain focus, and those might be personalised to you. When you're in the green zone, you want to stay happy, you want to stay focused, and you want to stay feeling good. When we're moving into that yellow zone, it's about then regaining control, calming yourself down before you get too far into red. When you do get into that red zone, because of that heightened state, we need to make sure children are safe, and then they can have that ability to calm down. Strategies might be sensory things, they might be calming techniques you have at home, or they might be time to think about what they've done and how to get back to that green zone. So there are a few strategies at the bottom there by the yellow star. You can see having a stretch, having a play, doing some counting, stopping what you're doing, having a break, dancing, jumping, drawing, writing. There's lots of ideas that you could explore with your child there. And here are a few more. Some sensory strategies now. Having a bear hug, going for a walk, blowing bubbles. And that may seem like that's a reward, but it's not. It's not a treat. It's a tool to help them regulate and to help them calm down. Have a little think, is there anything that you do when you're getting anxious, when you're getting worried or angry, that you use as a calming down strategy? Because you probably don't even know it. A few more strategies there, common things that you're able to access and buy if you need to. A few breathing strategies. Counting slows the brain down, slows the heart rate down, hopefully to allow a child to remain calm. And finally, a few more little calming activities. Maybe you have a box of puzzles that your child goes and does when you can see they're getting angry, just to give them that time out and that breather. Is there a tub of Play-Doh they could access? Reading, some rocks to stack like that picture. Again, it's not a reward. It's about giving them that time to think, that ability, time to move back down the zones into green. If you have these conversations with your child's class teacher about using the zones of regulation, they might be able to share with you the particular one that your child likes using, and vice versa. Please do have a chat with your child's class teacher when appropriate about these things. So in school, we are creating a display in each of our classrooms We are doing 5 lessons to introduce it to the children, to be able to talk about it and start this system within our school. We're going to be using the displays ourselves. Staff are going to be modelling how they're feeling, what they're going to do about it for themselves, so the children know it's okay to be talking about these feelings and emotions and doing something. For some children, we might do something more personalised, because we realise that actually they are finding it more tricky to self-regulate. They do find it more tricky in our environment to calm down, so they might need their own zones of regulation or their own calming box of activities. We will wait and see. So this is one of the examples of a display at school. You can see there we've got the 4 zones, we've got the emojis and the words. You might want to make a family zone of regulation that's stuck on the front of the fridge, or again, a personalised one for each of your children. There are some resources on the website that you can have a little look at. There's 2 more displays, the minions there, all those familiar characters, and then really simple emojis at the bottom. Don't overcomplicate it, make it something your child can access and your child can use in a helpful way. I mentioned the personalisation, and again, there are a few little ideas of some ways you can personalise it, a little toolbox, cards that your children can show you, because again, going back, when a child's in the red zone, they really can't communicate things that well. So actually using visuals and pictures is a really great way of helping them to keep calm and to go back to that green zone. So there is no pressure at all for you to be introducing this at home. We just wanted to be able to share it with you so that you can join in conversations with your children. And if they say they're feeling yellow or they're feeling blue, you will know exactly what they're talking about. If you do fancy giving it a go, remember you could use your own zones of regulation at home. You could talk about feelings more at the dinner table once a week, have a conversation. Have you been in the blue zone today? Have you been feeling angry today? How did it make you feel? What did you do about it? You could develop strategies at home for your children. Again, like reading a book, that box of sensory toys, calming activities that is they go to as a strategy, not a treat and reward, just as a strategy. A little bit of time out to calm down, that big bear hug to make them feel safe, and that time to talk. A few things there to help you think about strategies. And that's me done. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Hopefully that's given you a tiny insight into our zones of regulation at school and maybe some ideas to use it at home. If you have any questions, please drop me an email, give me a call or pop in, or if it's more with about your child's class teacher, more about your child, please feel free to speak to your child's class teacher. Thank you for listening, and I hope that's been useful.